Hello everyone out there, how is it going? I hope you're all having a good day so far or a good week. Welcome to today's video. Very happy to have you here with me today. Today I want to talk all about intuition. To be honest, I don't know why I haven't actually made a video on this topic exclusively ever before. Listening to my intuition is a really big part of my life, and it's sort of always been my compass, so to speak. It's guided me in a lot of different ways. We can call it different things: intuition, a gut feeling, having a hunch, or just sort of like an inner knowing, different ways that we can kind of describe it. You know, it can be a little bit hard to explain what intuition is and what it feels like because of the fact that it is a feeling and a knowing. It's kind of like trying to describe what the color blue looks like. It's a little bit difficult, but what it is really an innate inclination or drive that we have toward a specific behavior or action without thinking about it or without kind of analysis. In many cases, it's a gut feeling that's sometimes based on experiences that we have had in the past, but we just have this feeling about something and we don't really know why. Now, this isn't to say that we should just disregard logic or conscious reasoning. Definitely not. That's very, very useful and valuable in our lives, right? To think things through, to think logically, to use that kind of analytical part of our brain. But it's kind of a matter of finding balance here with using a variety of our cognitive resources, including intuition, depending on the situation. And so I'm going to be sharing with you some strategies today to help you listen to your intuition a little bit better, as well as some questions that you can ask yourself as well. And let's get started. So the first tip I want to share with you here today when it comes to listening to your intuition better is to cut the noise, to clear the clutter, whether it be mental clutter or just external noise and clutter coming from outside of ourselves. So this is where spending some time in solitude, even potentially doing some meditation, can be profound in helping us to better actually pick up on what our intuition might be telling us about something. And the reason for this is because when we are constantly being distracted by what we see, what we hear, when we're constantly being influenced by what other people are telling us, opinions from others, what we think others might think, or the shoulds that we have inside of us, right? We feel like we should be doing this, or we want to please others, you name it. When we have these kinds of influences around us, just the busyness of our daily lives, it completely tunes out our intuition. We can't really hear that kind of side of ourselves that has that kind of gut feeling or inner knowing. It's much harder to tap into it. So when we are able to clear that noise, spend some time in quiet, in solitude, so ideally by yourself, you're much better able to tune in to your intuition. The next way to better listen to your intuition is to practice paying attention to that initial split-second gut reaction that you have when you are being faced with a choice or a set of decisions. So what you can do here to practice this a little bit or get a better sense of what this might feel like is take a moment to think about a decision that you are trying to make in your life or something that you are kind of weighing, and remove all of your thoughts about them. Don't analyze them. Just notice the feeling that you have when you imagine yourself living in each of those options. A great way that you could do this if you want to get that kind of split-second feeling is flipping a coin, not as a way to make the decision for you, but as a way to just flip a coin, see what it lands on, and just see how you feel in that moment when it lands on that side of the coin. And you're going to get a sense of a pull towards something when it feels right? You feel kind of this openness about it, this lightness about it, maybe excitement about it. And when something doesn't feel right, there's more of a contraction, a resistance, maybe a feeling of dread. And kind of like a pulling away or a pulling back. Your initial reaction to something, how you initially feel about something, can actually provide you with a lot of really valuable insights into what might possibly be best for you. The next way to tune into your intuition is to pick up on physical sensations that you're experiencing in your body. So the brain and our physical body are very largely connected, especially because of the connection between the brain and the gut, and our nervous system and the connections there. So a lot of times when something doesn't feel right, we might feel our chest kind of close inward, our shoulders might hunch, we might shake our head, we might have a really concerned look on our face, we might just feel really like, you really don't feel good about it, but you're also physically looking that way as well. Likewise, when something kind of does feel right, there is, like I mentioned before, sort of that openness, a lightness about it, even if there's still a little bit of fear perhaps, or nervousness about it, or butterflies in your stomach about it. When something intuitively feels right, you tend to be more excited when you talk about it. Your facial expression might light up. You might be smiling when you're talking about it. You're more open. So this is where some people can get a little confused by fear versus intuition. Let's say you're trying to decide between something where you can't tell if it's just genuine fear that you have, or if it's your intuition telling you not to do it. What you can do here is to imagine how it would feel after it's all said and done, either immediately after or maybe a few weeks or months later. What does your life look like and feel like? Again, try not to think too hard about this or analyze it too hard. Just how does it feel when it's all said and done? Do you feel a sense of pride, lightness? Do you feel really, proud of yourself? Do you feel joyful? Do you feel like a sense of confidence? Do you have a sense of relief? Or maybe sadness, regret? That is one way that we can kind of shift our perspective here to take a look at whether it's our intuition or not. Because a lot of times, if it's just fear that we're experiencing, then that can be overcome. Right? We can move through fear, we can overcome our fears, we can improve our skills, let's say with public speaking or something similar, right? We can get over that and we can do the thing and then feel good about it afterwards. But if it's our intuition that's still nagging at us, then it'll still exist if we haven't kind of done what felt right. The next point I want to talk about here is definitely something that I have experienced many times in my life, and maybe you can relate to this. Think about a time, maybe even right now, if there's been a decision that you've been trying to make now or in the past, but you keep seeming to come back to it again and again and again. Something just feels unresolved about it, or there's this nagging feeling that you have about it that's just not quite right. Maybe you're second guessing yourself, second guessing your decision, and perhaps this has gone on for months, sometimes even years. This can be depending on the situation, where you think you've made your decision, but for some reason, every once in a while, it just keeps coming back to you, where you're just like, I don't know, something about this feels unresolved. So in my personal experience, it's a sign of my intuition telling me that something needs to be explored here. Something about this decision isn't quite right, and I need to explore maybe the other side of it in order for me to put it to rest. I've made some big decisions in my life where I explored that other side of it, and it was so much better, so much more right for me. Take a moment to reflect on some past experiences when you had a hunch sometime in your life. When was a time in your life where you just had this feeling about something or a hunch about something, and how that actually felt, especially if that hunch kind of became true or was reality? How did that feeling feel for you? What was that inner sense like? And remembering these, kind of recalling these, can be really helpful for tuning into your intuition a little bit better in the future, because you can kind of remember what it actually feels like to have that sense. Alrighty, and lastly, this point here is definitely calling upon a little bit more of that conscious reasoning, analytical side of your brain here, but it can still be a great way to help you tap into your intuition once you've kind of completed these things here. And that is to write it out. So I have a few questions for you here to reflect on that can be really helpful when it comes to, again, weighing something, trying to figure something out, making a decision, or looking at a set of options. So the first question that you want to ask yourself and write out is, what is the ultimate outcome that I want from this? What is the most important thing to me about this area in my life? So write that out, get really clear on that. What is the ultimate outcome that you are even really wanting here? Number 2 is to write out some pros and cons and even the worst case scenario of both options or all options. And again, this is definitely using that thinking side of your brain, but just stay with me here. What you want to do here, number 3, is to reflect on those cons, those worst case scenarios, and ask yourself, are these fears that I have real? Right? Are they realistic or are they imaginary? Oftentimes in life, we are really, really afraid of outcomes that aren't even likely, let alone realistic or going to happen. And what these kinds of fears, these kind of unrealistic fears can do is they can completely drown out your intuition. So there might be a part of you that feels like something is right, but there's just this overwhelming sense of fear or worst case scenario that's not even necessarily very realistic. So this is where you want to ask yourself, are these fears that I have, the ones that I've listed out here, are they just deep-seated insecurities that are being disguised as convincing truths? Some common examples might be, if I end this relationship, I'm gonna, I'll never meet anybody else ever again. Or if I, pursue this one thing, I'm going to fail. The list goes on and on. There's so many different examples here of basically limiting beliefs that we have that we convince ourselves as being complete truths, and it can really drown out that sense of what actually might be right for us to do. So I hope that you find that helpful, a little bit of that kind of analytical side of your brain here, so that you can clear the path for your intuition to kind of shine through a little bit more. So that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you found this video helpful as a great kind of starting point for getting you to practice listening to your intuition a little bit more. If you have anything to add to this video, feel free to share below in the comment section. Remember that tuning into your intuition and being able to listen to it more is definitely something that takes time. It takes practice. It's kind of almost like a skill that you can develop over time of picking up on that feeling a little bit more. And that is it. I will see you all in my next one.